All right, so it has half dried and I couldn't really help myself, sorry guys, but without you watching and attending, I have added a little bit of this nice warm yellowy green onto the lawn, onto the grass that is up close near where I am. And so I did add some of that yellowy green in the background right behind these flower beds, and a little bit of that yellow onto the middle of this flower bed, which were all these narcissus flowers. Now, in the second layer, you can either work with heavy body acrylics like you did before, or you can pick up some of your inks. And I decided to go back and just pick up a little bit of this violet color. It's a different type of a red than what I used before, because this is the type of color with white mixed in with white that was very much the color of some of those pansies, especially up close. Let me just do this in the air. I picked up this much of the color, and I have quite a textured layer over there. So I'm going to start adding some of this onto my red as well as some of those previous blues, and I will do that with some of these other flower beds. And I will be picking up a little bit more of this darker, like a full dark version of that color, and place it right underneath the tree over there, because that does have a cast shadow on the grass. And because it's not quite dry yet, I actually have to be careful not to mix up all the colors into a big brown sludge. I'm trying to stay away from that. But yeah. Okay, and now I have, with a lot more white, I can use, what I do is I try to stick to one color at a time, and I added a lot more white. So this is now a light lilac color that will be quite good for the background. I left the background unpainted. Normally I would start with the background because you want to paint whatever is behind everything. Otherwise it's quite difficult to paint the sky behind a tree, you know, behind all the branches. It's very difficult. But in this instance, I wanted to come back to it a little bit later, because I wanted to see how light or dark I want it to be, and also whether or not I want to paint over and like knock back a little bit some of those trees. The line of trees, do I want to sort of break up that line of trees in the back? Do I want to create more of a contrast of light and dark? Do I want to cool down, somehow change any of these colors? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to add a little bit of that in right there behind. And the same color can go right here. So you want to pick up a color and then go around the canvas and see where else it would actually look good. It would make sense. It would coordinate well. It would interact well and just have a ball on the canvas. Okay. So some of these pencils will have a little bit of a white rim or like a white center. So it's totally fine to add a little bit of that into in a very patchy way. And I would say, yeah, that's it. I might just go and, oh, this is amazing. Am I going to ruin the whole thing? Possibly. So I have this little bit of color on quite a bit of color on just one side of my palette knife. And I have that spot that is a little bit too harsh. The contrast between the deep dark reds and the light yellows is a bit too much for me. I don't want that sort of a strong contrast right over there. So I'm very keen on breaking that up a little bit by just pulling it across this whole field. And now that's what I have. So I would say it's actually, I think I'm quite happy with this. Next layers can be something, a little bit of ink marks. Oh, if this would be, just please, can you please open this? Yeah, okay, just please open it. Thank you. And in the meantime, I have the white right here. Oh, thank you. Fantastic. So this one is something called Antelope Brown. I believe it's one of the scenery abstracts. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look anything like an antelope at all. But it is a dark green that makes a very nice sort of the type of lines that you see in nature. So what I will do here, I'm just adding a little bit of this. And let me just, so you can leave it as it is, okay? You can just have fun with it and add a little bit of a zigzag line. That's one way of dealing with it. You can also add a little bit of a splattering, just splashes of this color. You can do that. And then, oh yeah, this is important. If you painted into still fresh, still wet, heavy body acrylics, just make sure that you don't clog this little dripper, the very tip, that it is clean when you are putting it back on top. You can, of course, pour the same thing into a teeny tiny, like an egg holder or something, and then work carefully around with a fine brush, but I'm not doing that. Okay, then the next thing is a little bit of my white. Oh yeah, let me just bring this up close so you see what I'm doing. Yeah, so just zigzagging over there, a little bit of a zigzag over there, and adding some of the tree trunk over there, and just a few of the lines that are more of a swirly, or you want to establish a very sharp straight line. Fine. Then what you can do is you can pick up your water, your spray bottle. It can be a teeny tiny small one as well. It doesn't have to be like 2 liters of water. This is just what I use for larger canvases. And you spray. And you spray. And this is the scene as you can see, hopefully. So that's what happens with the acrylic inks on top of your acrylic, like heavy body acrylics. Now if you pour this, if you like hold it, let me just turn this around. And now this is upside down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the bottom of the painting up. And you see what happens there. It starts running. And it creates lovely bush-like, or like, you know, something, it looks like an undergrowth. Look at that, there's another tree trunk growing as I speak. So all of this, and then when you feel like it has grown enough, then you can just put it down. Okay, I turned it back where it should look like. If any of it is too, I don't know, it has broken up, any of your colors that you wanted to keep intact, like I would rather have some of that green, light green, nice and lively, then you can just dab it off with a tissue. If anything is too dark, you can again go on top, dab it off gently. You don't have to clean everything off. It's totally fine to have a few of those marks. Like it's okay in Impressionist painting. It's totally fine to have the signs of the artist's hand and the way they assemble the artwork on the painting as it dries. So that's totally fine. Okay. Now you can do something similar with the white. You could outline stuff, or yeah, you could just, you know, add a couple of these swirly marks that are very typical of pansies. Also, you can just dab a few, you know, there are flowers in the grass as well. So you don't have to be very precious about your artwork when it's not an actual painting, it's a study. So studies are there to have fun with. And if you, by accident, you happen to create something that you are very proud of, then you can just enjoy. Okay, you can always, and it happens that I end up framing some of my studies, but that's not the goal here. The goal here is to experiment with colors, lines. Some of the lines now I'm working with lines. Otherwise, it's more of a, where is my, yeah, okay. So again, I need to make sure that it's nice and clean before I put it back. And when you are working with inks, you want some of the layers to dry, you want some of the layers to run, so then you can just, you basically work layer by layer and quite carefully. You can go on top of it with your fingers and just add a little bit of yeah. You don't want to add too much. Yeah. Okay, so I would say this is about how far I would go, and then I would come back to it the next day and see how well it behaves, how it likes to be in the sunlight, how it likes to be, oh, what's that? Okay. So how it dries, how, you know, if at all I need to add anything else to it. I probably will, because this is quite a dark that the green, this dark green, browny green that I added, that's quite a strong color. So I will probably go on top of that with some more palette knife marks just to make it a little bit more fuzzy. But that's probably overfiddling it. Honestly, for a color study, this is as far as you need to go. And then you can, based on this, you can decide if you want to continue or not, if you want to crack on with the same picture on a larger canvas.